Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a phenomenon you have absolutely seen if you've ever stepped foot inside a fitness center. Picture this, right? Someone walks in, immediately pops on their headphones, completely crushes their workout, and then walks right out the door without uttering a single syllable to anyone. No small talk, no polite head nods, just nothing. I bet you've noticed that silent gym goer. Honestly, it is so easy to look at them and just assume, they must be totally antisocial, or maybe you think they're just super unapproachable and unfriendly. But okay, let's dive into this, because the real reason they avoid talking actually reveals something incredibly fascinating about how human beings process their environment. The truth is, they're not necessarily antisocial at all. For a lot of these folks, the gym isn't just a place to build muscle, it's literally their escape. It's this dedicated sanctuary for an hour or two where absolutely nobody needs anything from them. Nobody is asking for a favor, nobody expects them to entertain a conversation, and they can just focus entirely inward. We're going to explore the core psychological themes driving this quiet behavior, and honestly, the best place to start is with how we manage our mental energy. Their entire mindset really boils down to one simple thought: I'm here for myself. Think about a typical day for a second. You are constantly bombarded by work, school, text messages, endless app notifications, and just dealing with people in general. We experience what psychologists call cognitive overload. So for the silent gym goer, wearing headphones isn't always about blasting heavy metal or the latest explainer. Those headphones act as a firm physical and psychological boundary against all that overload. They are actively protecting their mental space. It's their polite but super firm way of hanging up a do not disturb sign. And hey, it doesn't mean they dislike people. In fact, they might love hanging out with friends. They just need their human interaction in smaller, much more controlled doses. And this brilliantly illustrates how different brains process social energy. On one side, you have someone who feels pumped up and totally energized after chatting with 10 different people between sets. But on the other side, that's our introverted gym goer. And remember, introversion doesn't mean shy and it doesn't mean awkward. It simply means that social interaction costs mental energy rather than creating it. For this person, trying to maintain small talk while doing squats leaves them completely drained. Solitude isn't them being unhappy. Solitude is precisely how they plug in and recharge your battery. Let's move to and see how this builds into their actual routine. Notice the almost robotic efficiency here. Walk in and warm up, start the workout, track the sets, finish and leave. Boom. This is a highly mission-driven mindset aimed at achieving what psychologists call a flow state, that magical zone of complete, unbroken immersion and focus. When you treat your workout like a strict military mission, even a friendly 5-minute chat by the water fountain feels like a major interruption to that flow. They are extremely goal-oriented, and everything outside of those 4 steps, it's just noise. Which brings us to this incredibly simple, yet totally defining mantra: I came here to train. That's it. That is the entire mindset perfectly encapsulated right there. Their focus is purely on the physical task at hand. They aren't thinking about weekend plans. They certainly aren't looking to network. They are just there to lift, run, or stretch. Once that specific physical goal for the day is accomplished, the mission is over and they're out the door. Now, another layer to this is social validation, or rather the total lack of a need for it. I know I showed up. Man, that phrase is powerful. A lot of people go to the gym and absolutely thrive on others noticing their progress, right? They want compliments or they want to show off how much they can bench press. But the silent gym goer, they generally don't care who is watching. Their reward system is entirely internal. They don't need applause because the satisfaction of just knowing they put in the work is enough. And frankly, relying entirely on internal motivation like this is exactly what makes these individuals so surprisingly consistent over the long haul. Their drives doesn't depend on anyone else's reaction. Now, what's really interesting about this is that it busts a massive myth. There is this idea that being quiet means being tuned out, but actually, it's the exact opposite. These individuals are often the ultimate silent observers. They notice literally everything. They see how people behave, they track who talks to whom, they are hyper-aware of gym etiquette, and they take in all of their surroundings. They're just incredibly comfortable watching from the sidelines rather than participating as the center of attention. Their silence isn't ignorance, it's high-level observation. We also have to acknowledge a very real, more personal, psychological factor at play here. For some, keeping their distance simply feels safer and easier. Why? Well, because past experiences shape our present behavior. Maybe they've dealt with unwanted judgment before, maybe they experienced rejection, or just had super awkward encounters that they'd really rather not repeat. Over time, their brain learned a very simple defense mechanism: avoid interactions that might feel unnecessary or uncomfortable.
It doesn't mean something is broken or wrong with them. It just means that silence has become this protective, deeply ingrained habit that brings them peace of mind.
Think about the sheer chaos of everyday life for a second. People change their minds, plans fall through, unexpected problems constantly pop out of nowhere. Now compare that to the gym. It is completely structured. You choose the exercise, you control the exact pace, you complete the set, and you move on. For someone who feels overwhelmed by the unpredictability of the outside world, this level of structure is incredibly satisfying. The gym becomes their vital control zone, the one place in their day where they know exactly what the rules are and exactly what they're supposed to do.
So the crucial point is that we really need to reframe how we view this silence. They value privacy, focus, and independence. The big takeaway for all of us is to stop making negative assumptions. If you see someone completely in the zone, refusing to make eye contact, do not immediately assume they're rude or lonely or that they secretly hate everyone in the room. They are just highly independent individuals, carving out a small sliver of the day to focus entirely on themselves.
It's always worth remembering that silence isn't a sign that someone has nothing to say. Their quiet demeanor simply means they don't feel the overwhelming need to say everything that's on their mind. They are perfectly content to keep their thoughts to themselves while they put their head down and do the physical work, day after day, without ever needing an audience to witness it. Which brings me to a question I really want you to ask yourself. Do you go to the gym to socialize, or do you go there to disappear for a while? There is absolutely no right or wrong answer here, but it's fascinating to figure out what kind of gym goer you actually are. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, so be sure to let me know down in the comments which side of the spectrum you fall on. But if you are that person, the one who meticulously finishes the workout and walks out in total silence, know that your silence isn't a flaw. It's a feature of a highly focused mind. Because the next time you put those headphones on, you have to ask yourself, are you locking the world out? Or are you finally locking into yourself? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you next time.